this? Incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to a very joyous episode of 179 of the Grove Podcast now. Thank you for listening, and I'm pretty sure if you are listening to this that you're feeling a multitude of happy emotions at the moment, and rightly so, because after beating Atlético Madrid 1-0 last night, 2-1 in aggregate, Arsenal Football Club are in the 2026 Champions League final, and it makes me smile every time I hear that, think about it, read about it, and puts a massive grin on my face. And I think it puts a massive grin on every Arsenal fan's face. And that's only for the second time in the club's history. After a 20-year wait, we are finally there. We're on our way, as the chant goes. We're going to Budapest to play in what is the second biggest game of football in the world. The biggest game in club football, for a chance to be champions of Europe, a chance to make legends of this team, to make Arsenal history. Sounds quite nice, doesn't it? And forgive us if we're going to be a bit hyperbolic, a bit effusive with our take on last night. But these are the times to do that and enjoy the moment. And joining me today to relive everything about our semi-final triumph is a very warm welcome back to the pod. Is Jamie? How are you? And how late did you stay up last night scrolling every possible piece of content you could find on the internet?
Not very at all, actually. I was thinking about half hour after the game.
Oh, thank you very much for spoiling that introduction.
Yeah, I think I managed to do a few messages and what have you in the WhatsApps, but I came back down to earth pretty quickly. But
wow.
But no, can't. I mean, what a night! It was superb.
So where's your head at today then? How are you feeling today? Is it just a giddy excitement?
I'm just super interested in who we pick up now. You know, I just want to know, you know, who's it we're playing. It's about as simple as that.
What's your preference then? What would be your preference?
Do you know, I think it's Bayern for me, just out of having smashed them earlier on this season. And then, see, you go back to that game and you just think, well, we just need to do that again. Of course, the wonderful theory about that is that last season I went into the PSG doubleheader thinking, well, we smashed them during the league stages. We just need to do that again. So, you know, how that holds together, I don't know. I mean, they have got probably, you know, the most effective front three in Europe right now, Bayern Munich. And then if there is a second most effective front three in Europe, it's probably PSG's. So
it's not Gyökeres, Martinelli and Madueke then.
I mean, in the last 24 hours, I think that's definitely the most effective in Europe. In fairness, yes, I will give them that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my gut, I think my gut is Bayern Munich. I just think that we've got more opportunity to take them. I think maybe defensively, and I think they've got potentially more weaknesses. You know, I think we can hold off Kane. And stuff like that. You know, Elise's strong, but you know, I think you know, Saka, Elise, they stuck up together. So yeah, I would do that. Somehow PSG's running and just that directness, and their midfielders who just never in the same place at any one particular time. They're sort of just constantly rotating. I think that's more of a challenge.
Chaos with PSG, isn't there?
Yeah,
there's a lot more. There's a lot more chaos. Quite poetic chaos, you might say, but there's just so much chaos, and that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, and look, I think, but after the interview last night, I think Bukayo wants PSG for a bit of revenge from last season. But look, we'll take it. Who cares? It's not our problem. We'll take whoever in the final. So, but I did jokingly say, like, oh great, it's amazing. Like, we're getting to the Champions League final. All that effort just to get absolutely spanked by Munich or PSG. But tongue in cheek. Well, I mean, I was there last night and. I'm quite knackered, to be honest, but still on a high, but I was knackered because I didn't get back till about 2:00. You know, we had a really good afternoon. And then I did all the...
You did both legs, right? You did all...
I was
200 odd minutes of it, right?
Yeah. I was there in Madrid last week, and that was an amazing special time being there. I've done all the knockout stages, so I've been really privileged, very lucky, and all the chat has been today about, you know, Budapest and tickets and stuff like that. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. But yeah, I did all the scrolling, and then they have that lovely feeling when you wake up in the morning that, you know, when you can't remember anything, and then suddenly, oh, we're in the Champions League final. It's great. You know, it was such a such a nice moment. And like, I just, so not only did I do all that last night, then this morning, first thing I wake up on the phone, 2 hours later, shit, I better get out of bed actually and do some work. All the chats. But and it is a huge moment, a massive moment. I mean, how special, how big a moment is this for Arsenal, for Arteta, for the fans getting to the Champions League final? I said only for the second time. It's been 20 years. How big do you feel this is for everyone involved?
Oh, it's just bloody massive, isn't it? It's been so long, so long. I mean, 20 years actually, and it being 20 years to the, it will be 20 years to the day almost when we do it. Is kind of frightening, to be honest. I really, you can't overstate just how big a deal it is for us to make what is only our second Champions League final. It's huge, absolutely huge. So for me, it's massive. I think this one feels a bit more in your face than the last time as well, if I'm completely honest. Because with the last time, I think it felt like a bit of an inevitability that we had to make it at some stage, and then we kind of kept falling short for quite a period of time, right? And then we kind of were really creeped by Villarreal to make that final. If I'm honest, I sort of went into that game thinking we get absolutely steamrolled by this Ronaldinho Barcelona team. Basically, at the time, that was kind of the way that I went about feeling about that game. But obviously, we'd won a lot more as well over those previous years, so it had always felt like we would get there at some stage. And this is absolutely momentous for this team, I think, because they are still yet to win anything. Hopefully that changes in the days leading up to the final, or in the week leading up to the final. But the opportunity for the team to actually, really make their mark on Europe is just, it feels like a greater moment for this team necessarily than it might have been for the other team, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's sort of been building up to this. I mean, look, we've still got a job to do, okay, in the Champions League and the Premier League, for sure.
But making the final is a bigger deal now, and winning it would have been a bigger deal back then, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
That
Making
the final back then didn't feel as special as it does making it now, because we've had so much success. I think that's what I'm trying to get.
No, absolutely. The trajectory we've been on over recent years, and the sort of the narrative and the story and the growth from when Arteta took over. But for one thing, I think we need to celebrate this a moment, embrace it. That feeling that comes with a final. But I mean, we've got to this final by not having lost the game, in the whole tournament so far. So we could win this invincible. Our trophy is going to be gold. We've only conceded 6 goals in 14 games, 9 clean sheets. We topped the group phase. Getting through the knockout stages, coping with injuries, poor domestic form, an arduous Premier League season against teams that have been putting their feet up domestically. We've had the chats on the groups and all the rest of it. PSG and Bayern Munich are not tested at all in their domestic leagues, and Atlético Madrid are not bothering with their league because they've got nothing to do with it. So they, everyone's had their feet up, and we're still having to battle week in, week out. And I think it's a remarkable achievement. I think it goes to show how resilient this team is. So I think we've really earned this, and as we were talking, we built to it over a number of years, the progression from the quarters 2 years ago to the semis last year to now the final, and I think it's incredible given where we were when Arteta took over 6 years ago, to what he's done now, what he's built. I think he deserves so much respect, so much credit, which I don't think he gets. Trophy or not, you cannot just deny that progression, and it is success just without the trinkets at the end of it. And and I don't think this feels like a one-off. If we can get over the line in the Premier League, and it feels like we're building something sustainable. And I think it's reward for the players, the managers, the coaching staff, the fans, for everyone involved and associated with the club. And we just need to go and finish the job off on the 30th. But I, for one, am definitely going to enjoy every moment of this until the 30th, until what happens on that day, and then we'll deal with that on the day. But for now, we've got to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and look, Declan Rice also said, like, in terms of the jubilant season full time, he said it was chaos in the dressing room. It would have been so funny just to see what the dressing room was like. And he said, I don't think you can underestimate what we've done in this competition up to this point. We have every right to celebrate. It's such a big moment. The Champions League is the most prestigious tournament, and it's a proud moment for the clubs and the boys who are just trying to soak it all in. And look, the celebration police have been out. The BBC, as is their want, release an article, all about have we celebrated too much, and then you all get the haters and shit like that, and say, well, fuck them. That's what I say, fuck them, because you just take the joy out of anything if that's the way you are. I was listening to the Askcast, and he said, look, if we score in the first minute, we celebrate, and when there's a whole match to go, we still celebrate. So, fuck them. So, I mean, I was fortunate enough I was fortunate enough to be there, and I'll touch on that a bit. You weren't there. How did you experience the game? How were you feeling? Were you, pre-match? Was there a lot of nerves, or was just sort of like, how were you feeling about the game, and and just in general, just watching it from? I'm assuming you watch it at home rather than at the local, but how was that for you?
I did, I watched it at home. It was funny enough, very, very little nerves in the lead to it. I've not really been thinking about it. I've been sort of lucky and unlucky that the last month and a half, 2 months, has coincided with me being at the ground a lot less than usual during some of the games that we've not done so well on, not being on this pod a great deal, not talking a great deal to a bunch of people about the Arsenal, and busy because I've been absolutely slammed with a combination of work and personal life, and moving house and all that kind of stuff. So actually, like many things, I've got into a really nice little cadence the last few weeks. Just watch the football. Just watch the football, and that's it. Just wait until it's on, and at that point, worry about it. But until then, what's the point, So I didn't have any massively, great anticipation for the game. Obviously, I knew it was on. I was looking forward to watching it, and that was it. And to be honest, it kind of sneaked up. I always find this as well. Whenever it's a Tuesday game, it always sneaks up on me anyway, because I sort of, for some reason, my brain defaults to Wednesday. And I think because it was a bank holiday in particular, it sort of snuck up on me as being, oh, yeah, of course it is tonight. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, lovely. I'll watch that tonight. The boys will be all right. So I just got on with life. It was fine.
And how did it come across on TV? Because
the atmosphere sounded absolutely fucking. I mean, as soon as it came on, and this was one of the very rare occasions where the missus knew both, which happened recently, but also the importance of this particular tie. I got to watch it on the big screen rather than normally if I'm home to watch it, it's on the monitor upstairs, which fortunately has been upgraded recently to account for the fact it's now my main football TV watching station. But I said to her during it straight away, I said, I would absolutely give a right arm to be there right now. I really wish that I'd sorted out, get myself in the stadium for that one. So I was dead jealous. It looked absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to go there.
Where is that in terms of top atmospheres that you've had?
Oh, number one. I said I've never
the very best. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, by far.
And we're talking prior to full time. We're saying full time. It's like
the whole thing. Just the whole. Even beforehand.
Even better
afterwards.
Than
even better than Madrid.
Madrid was a reaction, I suppose.
Yes, it was reaction. It was after
I loved Madrid. That's my best ever time. Madrid.
But that was reacting to Declan Rice, and it was more like,
exactly. Yeah.
Oh bloody hell! We've just beaten Real Madrid 3-0. We go into that game thinking, not damage limitation of it, but you just we don't know what's going to happen here. This is Real Madrid coming to us. This is a quarterfinal. It's a bit of excitement, a bit of a just not experiencing before, and sort of like
just felt like Celtic Park when I was watching it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt like that sort of atmosphere, which we don't do. We just don't do. We have nights where we have a bit of a party. Don't have nights where we're Celtic Park, where it's we are with every single kick of the ball and we're right on top of the opposition. That seemed just really special to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that English clubs really do. Then it's not like, let's say, the Galatasaray, or even last week in Atletico, the whistling throughout the whole game and the whole atmosphere. It just seems a very continental thing, where you say in Scotland and stuff like that. It's not something that we do great. But last year, and look, it all started from, said met up with Moz from the pod and Andy from the pod and a few others. I was up. My son came with me as well. And went up to have a couple of drinks at 12 pins, and then we went to the greeting the coach thing. And when we got there, it was sort of like, we got there a bit earlier, so this is all a bit underwhelming. Yeah, but actually it built up, and it was like thousands of people there. Random buses came through, and we were like, hey, and it's nothing, it's not them. But that was actually really good, and it built. And first, the Atletico bus comes through, and everyone's giving it, "Hey, pendejo, cabrón, putas de madre," and giving all the Spanish swear words and things like that, and just giving it the finger and all the rest of it, and that built it. And then when the Arsenal coach came along, the flares come out and all the chanting, and actually throughout. So just from there, having a few drinks and stuff like that, and he just sort of just built and built, but it was sort of a happy atmosphere, an anticipatory atmosphere, sort of not quite a celebratory one, because the game was still in the balance, but there's an opportunity ahead of us here. There's something big coming here, and I think, like you, I wasn't nervous. It wasn't tense. And just the excitement around the ground was, I said, anticipation, the opportunity, a chance to do something that many fans haven't experienced ever in their lives. It's been 20 years, and how young the fans are, the Ashburton Army and all the rest of it, and how a lot of young fans. So everyone was actually buzzing really up for it. The tifo was superb. That worked really well. The fireworks. And look, to reference Spinal Tap, it was turned up to 11. That's the best way I can say, and I think it made a massive difference, because it carried on to the beginning of the game. We were doing all the whistling whenever Atletico got the ball and all the rest. And look, it's not going to last, but it was just there in the background. And I think there's a lot of things that have also led up to this, because also that reaction at half-time against Fulham was the start of it, I see. And then that result against Fulham. And then what happened on Monday with the City game. So all these things have just sort of built up to this night. And I think without those two things, I'm still think it would be brilliant, but it just adds that extra layer of, ooh. Like, wow, we are so close, and I think that's made a massive difference to that, and the lineup as well, which we'll get to. So I feel very lucky, very privileged, and I sort of feel bad going on about it, because if people don't, but I also want to share that experience for people who didn't get there to do it. And look, Arteta said, like, it was an incredible night. We made history again together. I cannot be happier or prouder of everyone involved in this football club. The manner we were received outside the stadium was special and unique. The atmosphere the supporters generated, the energy, it made it special. I never felt that in the stadium. We put everything, in it. And then he said after the game, that's the standard. So great. Now the fans are now being held to the same fucking standard as the players, and we got to live up to this every time. So, but look, I'm glad it came across on TV, because I think it was special. It was special to be there. So look, in terms of the game, and as I alluded to, let's start with the lineup. Yeah, what were your thoughts? Because same lineup as Fulham. Surprised, brave, risky. Yeah, what were your thoughts when you saw that come out?
Interesting, wasn't it? It was definitely a bit of a surprise. But I thought, again, I suppose, we just had. Fulham was probably our best performance in quite a while. I know there were mitigating factors at the Fulham side with that and what have you, but I think it was one of those occasions where I think particularly the inclusion of MLS in midfield, which is probably the biggest one, right? Zubi's back fit. Zubi can play in that position. That's his normal. He's been his go-to man throughout the entire season. He's been a key part of the Arsenal's early season successes. It seemed mad that MLS was picked in that position. I think that's probably the one that that stands out for that reason. But at the same time, I thought MLS was fantastic against Fulham, and within about 8 or 10 minutes, you could see precisely what he was adding to the game. So it was quite quick that you saw that payoff, really. And yeah, otherwise, I suppose he just went with, look, I really liked what I saw against Fulham, and I think if we can do that same thing against Atletico, we've got a chance. And maybe you go back to Fulham and you say that was him picking his Atletico team and giving it a go against Fulham, and he decided off the back of that, off the strength of it, yes, that is the team that I'm going to take forward. Maybe that's the way he was thinking. I don't know, but certainly it's worked either way. And it's I was quite pleased with it, because at the same time, anyone who is coming in, let's face it, nobody's coming in off the back of like 7 and 8 games of top form, are they, in this team? So, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, he said he went through multiple permutations and he just basically settled on what his gut feeling was. So luckily, I'm pleased he didn't have a dodgy curry the night before, because I'm not sure how that would have turned out. But no, he said when gut feeling, and you're right. MLS was the biggest surprise. Everyone expected Zubimendi. MLS comes in for Fulham because he's giving Zubi a rest, so Zubi can be fresh for and that's everyone's understanding. And he's 19. It's only the second time he's played in centre midfield for Arsenal at 19 in the semi-final of the Champions League, in the biggest game that we've had at the Emirates in the clubs, at the Emirates ever, sort of thing. I would suggest, and it's look, we know he can handle it because he played against Real Madrid last season, in the Bernabeu and here, so we know he can deal with the pressures. So, but that's insane. As for the others, White versus Mosquera, Nelly versus Trossard, Incapie, Calafiori, and then they say, well, yeah, just go with what worked. And like you, I thought, well, the Fulham weren't great. They were full of virus. I tell you my honest reaction when I saw that, I was unsettled. I was like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. It unsettled me. It took me a while to get my head around it, because I was like, okay, he knows what he's doing. I'm one for Arteta. Fine, he knows far more than me. But it did really unsettle me, and I did not know what to think for a good half hour. I was sort of like, just couldn't, does not compute type thing. So I felt bad. But what I did think is that we had an amazing bench, and I thought maybe the subs did play a role. I thought we had an amazing bench. So I think that was the positives around this, and that we can change it up if need be. And Arteta said and also what he showed was the togetherness of the team. He said, I went to some of the players and told them, I'm sorry, but I'll be picking the same lineup against Fulham, and they said, boss, we're here whenever you need us. And then they hugged me. It's all a bit of a story, but he's just saying that, right, fine, whatever the team needs, we're here. And I think I love that togetherness, and it just feels maybe things are just coming together at the right time in the right way. And sometimes you find a team, at the end of the season, a team just suddenly appears, and you just roll with that team because it's working and you're winning, and you got the connections there. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of thing. And maybe tweak it a little bit, but yeah, it felt good. It felt good once it started, but it was unsettled for a while. So in terms of highlights, lowlights, I'm not doing any lowlights because there were none. Any particular, we were going to go through the game, but is there anything that particularly stood out, or any particular highlight from yesterday's game that you thought that was cool?
I'm going to go with the last foul on Yok, who was an absolute Goliath up top. And I've loved, he's been improving his all-round game week in, week out for a little while now, and I thought it started when he was playing with Havertz, actually. And it seemed like we were just starting to get earlier balls to him, and he was showing a bit more of what he could do running with the ball. And obviously, first leg against Atletico, he had that fantastic, performance there as well. Again, very dynamic, lots of hold-up play, lots of running with the ball, lots of getting hit early by the players around him, and him doing the work then to ensure that we retain possession and that he got that support. It happened again against Fulham, and then today last night was the very best that I've seen from him. His hold-up play was it was close to, what I've kept asking for about 2 years now, is an Olivier Giroud put in his team. And Giroud-like with it, little bit less good looking with it, little bit less. He actually protested somewhat less than Olivier Giroud would throughout the entire thing as well.
He's got less of a Gallic shrug, hasn't he? So
yeah, he's a bit less charisma all around there, but he was just so good. So I think that last one in particular that he won, and it just at that moment just felt like that's it. He's got us over the line here. He's done that, and then we win the free kick.
That wasn't the one that
go, whatever.
That wasn't the one that could have been a red card, was it? No, that was earlier. But okay.
I think it was, and it was either way. It's the one we win It's not far over halfway line. We win the free kick. We've got.
Oh, okay. No, it's not that one.
1 minute and a half left of the 6 to go.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Funny enough, my highlight, like minute part of the game, was in the 88th minute. He was on the edge. He'd run back to the edge of his box to help with the defending, and then the ball gets cleared, and he's sprinting to close down the goalkeeper. But he starts his sprint from the edge of our box,
our area,
and it's just, and he's, there's one thing. He's a machine in that terms of that fitness, and as much as we've knocked his limitations, and he has got limitations. We know he's not at the top level. There's games that he's just not figured. We've carried him. It's like playing with 10 men. But one thing you can't do is fault his effort and his endeavour. Now, sometimes that's not enough. If you're a club like Arsenal, you need a bit more than that. But now he's got that endeavour and effort, and he's matching that up with output or bringing something extra to the game, bringing something to the team, either be it goals or assists, like he's done the last 2 games. Didn't get anything yesterday, should have done, but just a lung busting 88th minute down the middle of the park, and then still chasing around. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And what that does, you're 5-6 minutes from getting through, and that just lifts the crowd, and everyone gets lifted, and it just brings that energy in, and it's just so impressive. And say the last 3 games, he's just sort of appeared, and look, you put better players around him, funny enough, he plays better. So it's
also been his touch has improved. Everything seems to have improved. His strength. The key thing for me is his strength, because that was one of the major problems that I had with him, was that he's clearly a big boy. He's clearly going to win an arm wrestle against the likes of me, but he didn't seem to know how to use his body. And I know that there was a lot of talk actually over the Christmas period that was the biggest thing that the individual coaches were working on with him, was playing with his back to goal. Right,
that's
back to goal. I just did not rate him at all. I did not think he had the technique nor the physical command. It's not the physicality, but the physical command to be able to play back to goal. And in fairness, that's massively changed. So fair play to him. He's been really good since Christmas in general. There's been a lot of really good stuff from him, and he's papered over the cracks. But now he's actually filling in the cracks a little bit. These performances over the last 3 games, 4 games maybe, I might want to extend that a little bit more actually. He has been, not just papering over those cracks by being very good at the stuff that he's meant to be very good at. He's been filling in the stuff that I just didn't think he could do. He has been doing a good job of. So that's lovely to see. And it's nice to be wrong at the pointy end of the season about a fella.
Well, look, I mean, he's got 21 goals for Arsenal this season. He's the 3rd top scorer in the Premier League, I believe. So, against the output sort is there, but he's rough around the edges, and he's just something about him that's still, in those moments.
He's still no low light, but I will say just the fact he didn't get a goal to cap off the performance is probably it's the positive low light about the night, right?
Yeah.
If anybody's deserved a goal more playing centre forward for the Arsenal in the last few years, that performance deserved one.
As I keep shouting to my son when he used to play football, get your head over the ball, because he gets his head over the ball, that stays down. And I think, and what a cross from Hincapié, Jesus, it just took me surprised. So the fact he took it so early and it was perfect. It was a hard chance. I think it was a hard chance. So it's not easy, but you head over the ball. A top striker, I think, finishes that anywhere on target. That and going, and it is a shame for say it as a low light. It's a shame that he didn't get that. But some real proper number 9 stuff from him. And in terms of his body strength, this is the thing, and it still doesn't get all the fouls that he deserves. But you compare his body strength to someone like Saka. All Gyökeres's body strength is in his upper body. Which I think helps you a bit with sort of like shielding a bit of the ball, but what you need is the strength in your legs. So basically, you just cannot push Saka.
You want it in your derriere. You need to be
Well, your
Miles
derriere, but
Lewis out here with you. You just need to look like you're about to start grinding in Brixton in like 2001.
But you look at Saka,
and then you can do whatever job you need.
But you look like Saka. You cannot push him off the ball. His legs are planted. You not get him off the ball, and all his strength in the lower legs. I think Gyökeres, he looks big. All his strength is in the upper body, and that doesn't help you with planting your feet and not getting pushed off the ball, sort of thing. So, and against that lower center of gravity. So, he needs to work on that lower center of gravity and that really locking in. But it's great to have him, and it's interesting that Havertz was starting games, and Gyökeres was being benched, and because of Havertz's injury, he's now seizing the moment. So I think it's fantastic to see. So there we go. So look, in terms of the stats in the game, it seemed to be fairly even. 53% possession to us, 47 to them, 1.56 XG to us, 0.99 to them, 13 shots for us, 9 for them, 2 each on target. We missed 2 big chances, they missed 1. So it seemed to be fairly even. And actually, in terms of the first half, second half, it went from sort of we had 68% possession to their 32, and it pretty much switched around exactly the same in the second half. But if we go in terms of going into the game, and how are you feeling about the game beforehand, and were you confident we could get a result? How were you feeling about matching up with Atletico at home, second leg? Yeah, were you confident we'd get the result? And then what did you make of our performance and the game overall?
I was confident. Yeah, I thought based on last week, really. I thought first half we went out with a better team than Atletico last week, and then even after they came into it and got the goal and had a dominant spell for a good 25-30 minutes last week, that we finished that game really strong, and could have had another goal, and obviously could have had another penalty. It's probably a key bit, but certainly I thought over the course of 90 over there, I thought if you were picking a winner, it would have been us. So you come to our place. The only bit of intimidation I had was that I and I don't think there's any stats to back me up here at all. I will say that right away. I think this is legit vibes based,
Or the eye test, whatever.
But vibes based, I'm a bit like, this suits a Simeone Atletico going into the second leg at a 1-1 away from home, and they're comfortable in being the team that are chasing the game and harrying you and being physical, and the high intensity, all of that feels. And again, I really don't know if anything bears that out, other than it just feels, in my experience in the 20 odd years of Simeone's Atletico, it feels like it's their kind of game, So that was the little bit of intimidation I had. It wasn't really about us. It was about them. It was about the opposition perhaps being really well suited to this kind of tie.
I mean, I look, before the game, I didn't think we had anything to fear based on last week. They were very beatable. They let in goals. We did spank them 4-0. And it's our place, and I think what you were saying about Simeone is interesting, because they aren't these they've not been playing like the Simeone of old, like that dogged, dour team and all the rest of it. They're actually become a bit more sort of expansive. They score a lot of goals, but they let in a lot of goals, type thing. So that I always knew we could get goals. But I think yesterday you're right, in terms of the way the game panned out. And they've settled into a bit of a back five at times. So that is more Simeone. I think they were keeping it tight. They were not trying to give anything away, reduce any space. I think they were quick to close us down, and their press was sort of quite good. So I think they did resort to type, but how from back in the day, rather than be their usual selves. But with the likes of Alvarez and Griezmann, and I have to say, I love it when players come when they lose, but when they come and you can appreciate a good opposition player. So when they came last time, Alvarez stood out. He was superb, fantastic. And in the 2 games that I've watched, not that he had much end product, but Griezmann is a class act, and he just seemed,
because Griezmann was anonymous when they turned up earlier on in the season, and Alvarez with these as well. I thought Alvarez was by far the one that looked dangerous against us, and Griezmann looked like he'd fallen off a cliff. And then this game, I thought this really was Griezmann being wily, Griezmann being quality. He worried me all the way through until the point at which he slipped off the pitch.
Well, he can only
100%.
last so long. He's a 60-minute player now, type thing, because of his age, 35, whatever. But he just always seemed to be, it's cliche, he's in pockets of space. He'd always be available for a pass. He just seemed to be, there's Griezmann there. There's Griezmann. No fixed position. Always these hardest players to mark. He was one that had a shot that almost led to the penalty, which wasn't a penalty because of a foul. He's just always dangerous. But then also he was working back. There was that moment when there was no chance he was going to tackle Rice, but there was that moment he's chasing Declan Rice down the right hand side. So it was like, I love seeing players when you don't normally see them week out come to you and they lose, but you see, wow, that's a quality player. And it was the same last week in Madrid. He was the one that stood out, caused danger. I think he hit the post. For 60 minutes, you just always worried he's going to do something. I think Alvarez actually didn't offer much yesterday. He was quiet. I think those things maybe been injured. But I expected maybe a bit more from him.
Was the other player on their side as well. Actually, it's impressed me. I didn't necessarily think that much of him coming into these couple of games, and I thought he was quite a handful. He's a moaning bastard, but he
takes after his father.
He is quite a handful, isn't he? So, I thought they came out fairly well. They were very, very aggressive. They were looking to knock us off our stride. Their press was immaculate. As much as Alvarez might have been quiet in possession, he was very, very effective out of possession. Actually, I thought that front line in general pressed extremely well at various points in time. And they were just super, super aggressive. And they were looking to turn it into they were looking to do what they did in the early part of that second half and make us uncomfortable, and not let us get on the ball. And they did that very well, I thought, for the first half. Until for a good amount of that first half, I'm feeling quite worried, if I'm completely honest with you.
I think it was more a case of they were holding us at bay to a certain extent, but then they weren't really offering a huge amount of threat. They're going to have their moments because it's a Champions League semi-final.
But that's the thing that I think has always traditionally suited Atletico, right? That's the bit. It's the counter-attack, and that still is the case from now. So even though they are a bit more free-flowing, a bit more expansive now, their counter-attack is very good, and that's still the bit that worried me. Is like, if it continues like this is more their game than it is ours, was the way that I sort of felt in that respect.
And then maybe this is why having Eze and MLS in there, they're the ones that actually, the bravery to receive the ball, turn, take on your man, go for it, and be press resistant, say, right, okay, I'm happy to receive in a tight space and get out of this. And then we do that, and then we eventually, if you do that enough times, they're going to have to change their tactics, because against Fulham we had all the space in the world down the flanks, and we used that and exploited that. Yesterday when they're playing back five or defending deep, we didn't have that, so we had to find a different way. Saka was 2-3 man marked, so we had to find, okay, where are we going to get this? We're going to have to get it through the center of the pitch. Is sort of like small space stuff, as much as we can, sort of thing, but then exploit the open space when we need to. So I mean for me, I thought this was a brilliant, controlled, mature performance, to say, especially the first half. We didn't really give them a sniff. We were the better team over the two legs. We were disciplined and then dangerous in the transition. And I thought it was dominant, controlled, and just throughout the game, I just felt quietly confident. I mean, Newcastle, I was racked with nerves. I was just in bits, and I'm sorry to Russell next to me. I must have been nice. Normally quite annoying, but I was even more annoying than ever. Whereas yesterday, I was just sort of like, and I was really calm, because even at 1-0, even if they did come back, the subs, I think, getting that selection right by our subs and finishers, we had just such good good quality either come on to try and get another goal or finish the game on. And the way we used the subs and who we brought on and when we used it, it was just nigh on perfect. Is it? I think Gyökeres getting the second goal, that would have been the perfect game. But 1-0 to Arsenal, it's a tradition. And maybe I was thinking now, maybe I know that is that stupid thing that say 2-0 is the worst scoreline. But maybe if you go 2-0, then you sit back a beat and then you invite pressure. Whereas at 1-0, you still maybe have to go for the second goal. So I think maybe being at 1-0 in a way sort of helped us, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I can get that. Because I think, what a time to do it though. Right on the stroke of half time was absolutely superb. And then I think kind of coming out, obviously they were. It's funny because they didn't look rattled. They're really up for it. There was a little bit of for a few minutes. I thought they were going to be a bit like they were last week, and suddenly had a really good spell second half. But it sort of felt like very, very, very quickly this time we turned that around and went nope, not having that. We kind of did some safe stuff for 5 to 10 minutes to start the half. All the subs come on. They're quality subs, and then it's like, right, we've got this now, right?
Yeah. It did feel like, I say, we'll get back to Saka's goal, but it did feel like, this is a repeat of last week. Score late in the first half, and then they came out flying in the second half. But I think we then managed to have a few counters of ourselves. Whereas last week it was just wave and wave after attack, and we just couldn't get the ball, couldn't get out, couldn't do anything. This time it was a bit more ebb and flow to it, and again there was a bunch of early substitutions. But if you go back to the first half, say bit cagey, controlled, what you expect from a semi-final. I think we had the crowd behind us and we did try, but I think they knew what was going to happen, so they just made sure they'll nullify anything. Their job is get through the first 10 minutes, get through the first 15 minutes, don't concede, don't give anything away, and then the crowd will quieten, and then we'll pick it back up again. And we had a few moments. They had a few moments. I mean, the main one being MLS fizzing it across the box and just no one being there to put it into an open net. We have a couple of shots. Rice has a shot, Gabriel has a shot. A couple of corners, etc., but nothing. But the goal, and what made the goal for me was what a pass by Saliba and what a run by Gyökeres to get it down the right hand channel. Yeah. And then you think, he's gone the wrong way, crosses it over, and then Trossard is there to do, and we found Trossard again, and that was a very Trossard manoeuvre, trying to manoeuvre the player, and then he takes a decent shot, and I wouldn't have been surprised if it had gone in, saved by Oblak, and then great forward instinct by Saka to knock it into the empty net, like real striker's instinct. But and also now Saka again is coming back, and he's going to be a difference maker for us, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. He's in that kind of form at the moment, and it was lovely to see. And as you say, nice bits of players involved. York with his moment. I think Trossard again is coming back into form after a bit of a ropey spell during this season. He's now got a couple of decent games under his belt again, and very, very Trossard moment there with the I'm refusing to take this early. I'm almost going to let the defender set himself, then work the space to get the shot off.
I'm going to do exactly the thing they don't think I'm going to do.
It's extremely Leo striking goal, isn't it? And then what I quite like is there were several angles where you could see his face when he got saved, and he was a bit, bastard. It was a real sort of like, I thought that was going in, that's...
he struck it well. And that's the way...
Yeah. I mean, that is a very Leo strike, actually. I take the piss, but that way of setting the defender looking to manoeuvre and get that half yard of space and whip that ball across is one of his little specials, right? That's one of Leo's things that he loves to do. And the only thing is with Leo, a lot of the time it's not a clean strike, but when it is a clean strike, it looks lovely, and he did well when Oblak makes a good stop.
And because it was such a good chop, and Oblak could only do anything but palm it out, and then Saka's there with great instinct to put it away. And Leo's another player that suddenly suddenly we found him. He's at a dross.
He's been missing.
He's at a dross 2026.
Yeah.
To be honest, and all of a sudden, again last week against Fulham. Okay, Fulham's shooting boots were a bit wayward. He wasn't striking the ball like he did yesterday. But the effort, again, another effort class. He provided an assist. Should have had, I think, 2 assists last week, but he's provided 1 assist. So again, these players coming back at the right time and stuff like that. It just seems to be.
It's a great time to be rediscovering boys' form, right? It talking about Saka regaining form. I don't think it can be ignored that last night he was really well supported by Ben White, who I think might have looked weak at times in the last leg. I think in this leg he was absolutely superb.
I was going to ask about other players, and I know you're a big Ben White fan. I'm a Ben White skeptic.
I know.
There you go. Let's live it the polite way. But no, last night he was superb. He's had some iffy moments recent games like Fulham. There was some moment.
He's still been working his way through things, right? He's still, and I do think there is some merit in saying we've used Ben White to bits in the way that he did with Tomiyasu before him as well.
Yeah.
But there's still a quality footballer there.
Absolutely.
That just when he's not running to the ground can still produce cracking performances. And I thought last night he was absolutely superb. And his support of Saka was top notch. Defensively, he was very, very, very solid. And his distribution was right back where it used to be. There were the things that have frustrated me recently have been a bit more sort of, there's been a couple of the silly passes. There's not been as much ambition to support. Everything's just been a notch down. Every facet of his game has been a little bit less than it was previously. The defender's been a bit more timid, and everything last night was just spot on, absolutely spot on. That's his best game in an Arsenal shirt since, pretty much since he left the right back spot to Julian Timber. To be honest,
yeah, no, it was good because. I was thinking maybe start Mosquera. He's played in Spain. He had 2 seasons there. He's played regularly. Start him there. But, and also, Ben White, we get worried that he plays 1, 2, 3 games in a row and we start to, as he started to fatigue. And actually, in a way, he's got better, from last week to this week.
He's a run of games. We've talked about it so many times. A run of games is important.
Yeah. So, I did really appreciate his performance last night. So, in the second half, there were some moments. There was the one iffy moment around the 50 minutes or something, or 51st minute where Saliba just mishits a back header, and then Simeone's sort of runs through, and what a touch to take it round Raya, and we're all thinking, oh shit, that's the equaliser in the stadium. So that's it. We because where I am, I didn't know how close anyone was. I was even in all the rest of it. So that's one, and then all of a sudden, how's that gone wide? And brilliant defending by Gabriel, to put him off from scoring, get a little touch in the ball, just enough to put him off, but not enough to give away a penalty.
I just felt sick with worry about that, about that, and about the next one as well. Both of them just absolutely sick to bits.
Oh, but I thought goal. I thought, oh shit, empty net goal. Because that touch to go past Raya, because Raya's sort of then in no man's land because he's anticipating the header. Brilliant touch to go past, but Gabriel, it was like we celebrated as if we'd scored when that didn't happen, and then a few minutes later, this was one from the Griezmann shot, again parried out by Raya, and a soft Gabriel wins a foul, shall we say? And I'm not going to lie, this is Gabriel using his nous, European whatever. He wins a foul, and the ref blows just nanoseconds before Calafiori steps on Griezmann's foot and would have given away a penalty. So,
that's such a stonewall as well. I mean, it's literally Calafiori's just done absolutely everything he can to make it the most obvious fucking penalty you've ever seen in your life. There,
wow.
So that was quite fortunate, I think.
Yeah, but luckily we got the foul and the referee blew, so there's nothing you can do about it. And look, we've had seasons like last season was the season for all the shit to go wrong enough against us from refereeing perspective. So maybe this year if we get a few of the things go away, then it may not even out over a season, but it's evening out over a couple of seasons. And again, maybe these are the things, your name's on the cup, yada, yada, yada. So who knows? It was just, we got lucky. Who knows? And then I think a bit like last week, this week, we make substitutions early. And I think really good, and some brave ones, I think it's especially taking Eze and Saka off. I don't know how fit they are. Saka, I think, is a 60-minute play. He's building up to the 90 minutes. That's fine. You can sort of see that. And we wouldn't mind so much Saka coming off if it wasn't Madueke coming on. No, I like Madueke and all the rest of it, but just the contrast is too big. Eze coming off to bring Odegaard, I think maybe a bit more control. I think it was all about bringing control to the game. So Calafiori going off, Eze going off, Saka going off. So these very creative, maverick type players that maybe wanted to bring a bit of control to the game. We're 1-0 up. They're starting to get a bit of momentum. So you bring on Odegaard and Nkapie to provide that, and Madueke just to look. I jokingly said to the people next to me, if he doesn't know what he's doing, the opposition don't. So that's an element of surprise. So for everyone, but I think really good subs. Odegaard has a shot. I don't know how far over it was. We didn't get a replay. How close was Odegaard's shot on 60? Do you remember it?
I do when I
curler
don't,
curler to top left. I think it was
so long ago now.
Okay,
I'm looking at it and thinking. I remember a well-worked move. I remember Odegaard being at the end of it, but
yeah,
no, not quite.
Okay, no, and then look, again, it's sort of not a lot happens until the Gyökeres chance. I said it was sharp. Put your head over the ball, it goes in. But it is what it is. And as I said, we've talked about everyone's quite calm, everyone's chilled, and then basically the game gets a bit scrappy, gets a bit something and nothing. A few bits here, a few bits there. And then Zubimendi comes on, and then we have the next biggest moment was the Gyökeres one running through. Do you think that's a red card? Do you think that should have been a sending off? With the one that he runs through on 80 minutes, I don't know who passes to him. For me, I think that's a red card. It's denying a goal scoring opportunity. But
I don't know. He's got so much to do, hasn't he?
You think?
Yeah. I basically don't mind the outcome because I can find some of those can be a bit silly.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? Like it's not. He's not central. I think I'd have to have a look at some other angles as well about just where other players could have perceivably caught up from.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't offend me at all. It feels like you're
one for keeping 11 players on the pitch, and
I largely am in general. To be honest,
that's fine. Yeah, I know. In the state, I guess wanting to win something, you want every advantage. So I'm just thinking,
I'm never quite like that with referees. So whenever we have this conversation, I'm like, I'd be feeling aggrieved if I was an Atletico fan. So I don't really feel like we should have had it.
Oh,
that's kind of the way I see it.
Well, that's a good standard. If it was against you, would you be upset? Type thing.
I think I probably would be, but based on how I perceived it last night, certainly it didn't make me look at it second time. I did think to myself at the time, oh, interesting. That's maybe there's maybe a little bit of a case for a red there, but I didn't come away from it going, oh God, how could they not have given a red there?
Yeah, so fair enough. Maybe a bit like the Pope one against Gyökeres in the Newcastle game, but we're not here to litigate that again. And then it closes out, and then the last actually 10 minutes, 87 to 96, actually quite a lot of fun because it was got to that moment where we're so close, and they're not really doing much. But will something stupid happen? But there wasn't that tension. It was more like every time, like Baena shoots over on 89, loud cheer, hey, the usual thing. The free kick that Gyökeres win that free kick. Gyökeres won on 93 to relieve the pressure. Ben White makes a massive defensive header. The loud cheers. It was so joyous just to hear that.
I'm just amazed. I can't believe it was 6 to 6 minutes is when that hit Nkapie to.
Yeah, there was still a long way to go.
Really?
That would have been game over for sure. But we played out, and I think we played it out really well, and all the rest of it. Because after Atletico had their 20-minute spell of stuff, they didn't really offer much, and then that closing out, then all the fun, the touchline drama started, and we couldn't really see what was happening. All we could just see was suits and tracksuits and bodies. But I've seen it since. But it must have been quite funny just to see Andrea Berta trying to offer out Simeone or something like that.
Yeah, it did seem all a little bit ridiculous. But hey ho.
But what it did, it killed any momentum for them. It benefited us. They were, they've in those moments. The better thing is just not to get involved and just get the game on quickly as possible, because it benefits us. Because the referees in Europe don't add all the time that you needed, and it's sort of like I think it was, there was one moment where I think Martinelli's running out, he gets pushed, he gets the ball, he then throws the ball into the crowd. Then we're telling the crowd not to give it back, and then Kepa gets it, he boots it the wrong direction, gets a yellow card, and it's just all brilliant. I've seen it all on afterwards on the socials. I think it's just so funny. But seeing Arteta and Simeone on the pitch, I think the technical area is just a suggestion, not a constraint.
I mean, Mikel yesterday was back at Pete Mikel. I haven't seen him that animated in quite some time, to be honest. I just loved that it all brought my attention to Nelson Vivas being his assistant manager. I had no idea. I was made up by that. I was like, it's lovely to see he's still alive, looking very rough mind, but nice to see he's still about.
And we got Gabriel Heinze. So is it two Argentinian? Oh no, Vivas Argentinian or Brazilian?
No, Nelson Vivas Argentinian. He played alongside Simeone in the '98 World Cup team before he joined us.
Okay, yeah. So, so it was just all very funny. But I said benefited us, and then look, we defend the final throw, and then cue wild celebrations at the end, and beautiful to see. As I said, the celebration police can go fuck themselves. It was great. It was great to see. So, I mean, what was your? Yeah, I mean, this is what I find a bit odd. At the stadium, we've got somewhere to release, the excitement, the joy. How did it feel? Like, oh shit, we're in the Champions League final. You're sort of sitting there. What do I do now?
Relief and pride, really, and it was lovely, and it's just different, isn't it? Unfortunately, it's just different. And even so, in comparison to, for me, the move down from North London to here, because even if I'm not in the stadium, then the likelihood of me being around North London and being able to, just go for a decompression beer in one of the Arsenal hotspots was always there. It just sort of, that's lovely, isn't it? Wasn't that marvellous? Have a quick, tell Freya the significance of it that she's totally oblivious to, and then go off to bed. That was pretty much it for me. But it was lovely. There was definitely a quick bit of, I think the last 10 minutes of the game in general was a quick bit of Googling about, how many black market tickets were sold for the Champions League final at the last few seasons and stuff like that. That's a little bit of going a bit off. A little bit of dreaming. But that's about it, really.
Nice.
So obviously the end of the game looked absolutely superb.
Yeah.
How long did you hang about for?
A good 10 minutes. Well, basically until all the players left. Yeah, and then Saka, because he had to do the interview on the pitch, he was the last one. Nice for him to get his own sort of ovations and stuff like that. So a good 10 minutes afterwards. The Free From Desire song was just hit really really hard. And I don't know if you've seen the clips. Like, oh my god, terrible dancing with Trossard with Arteta. It's like real granddad dancing. It's absolutely. Absolutely,
you can
horrible.
Imagine Mikel Arteta never took the time to learn to dance, did he?
No. Oh god, no! But he was enjoying it. The whole players were, and it was good. They did both the clock and the North Bank. They did like the running arm in arm, and then way stuff. It was just the great rendition of the Angel. The Free From Desire song, everything. It's just they could have done anything, and we would have all been really happy and just smiling and stuff like. So it was really really cool and momentous and just joyous. It was just again, just the noise and the fireworks as well. So I think we don't do this frequently. Maybe we'll do in the future and stuff like that. So because we don't, I think we just need to make the most of it. it's been 20 years. I bet you 20 years ago, we don't think we're not going to do this again for another 20 years. So who knows when the next time we're going to get there. So fuck it, just soak it all up and enjoy it. And then went back to the pins. I didn't have a drink, but so, and all the different groups were there. So like, Ian was there, then Moz and Andy were there, and then also Whale and a few and Alistair and a few others from the Grove, Charles and Chi and Sasha. So a few of the Grovers were there. So it was nice to get all the different groups of people that you sort of hang out with pre-match or chat with on the groups to sort of all be there, like just grinning inanely at each other, really. So like smiling, and then all the talk about going to Budapest, how you're going to get there, booking flights and other stuff. So yeah, it's just nice, just a real that warm feeling inside. So and look, just a couple of things out from after the game. Simeone, a real arsehole on the pitch, and fair play to him. Real arsehole on the sidelines, fair play to him. You do whatever you need to do to win the match for your team, and you want and that's what you want from your manager. But he did say afterwards, I want to be very clear. Arsenal were the better team over these two legs. They are without doubt the best team we have faced this season. And we've heard that before from other managers, so it's nice to hear again. They play with a rhythm and a conviction that is very difficult to contain. I wish them nothing but the best. No further comments. So it's a class touch, I think, from him. He could have complained about this, that, and the other, and he's just saying, "Nah, best team won." So cool. And what's winning us this trophy? None of this stupid 5-4 can't defend bullshit. It's the defence. We've kept 30 clean sheets across all competitions this season. 30 clean sheets in about 60 games or something like that. Arsenal haven't conceded a Champions League goal from open play with both Gabriel and Saliba on the pitch. Now, have you seen this stat? Or otherwise, I'm going to ask you: did you read this or not? Because when was the last time? If you haven't, when was the last time Gabriel and Saliba let in an open play goal in the Champions League?
PSG, surely.
That's April 2024. No, that was April. That was 2025. Open play goal, and that's Saliba and Gabriel. Remember, we were playing with Kivior.
Kivior. Yeah, okay. It's because Kivior was there. Okay, got you.
2 years. 2 years since we've let in an open play goal with those two in our defence.
Jesus,
that's
quite
insane.
Impressive. Yeah.
And we've kept 18 clean sheets in our last 24 European matches at the Emirates. So there we go. So the defence is winning this because with our front line, I'm less certain. Any other players worth mentioning? Rice got player of the match. Big G, Gandalf, Hincapié, I thought had a great performance. Anyone else you want to call out?
Saliba in the first half had a couple of real Rolls Royce moments in general. You need a couple of those recovery bits. We've mentioned Ben White and how excellent he was. We mentioned MLS, I think, haven't we? Who it's interesting. This is all coming about as well at the time when everything's been gathering pace. The narratives around Arsenal looking to cash in on him, and everybody making a big deal out of the for PSR, it's real profit and all this kind of stuff. And for whatever reason, it's just never quite added up to me. I've always felt it's there's not. When you get a lot of pace gathering around a player leaving and it's about an individual club, you tend to believe it, and especially when it starts being sources and whatever. This just always felt like people are just trying to find something to say. And he's an easy one to pick on because of the situation he's been in this season where he has not warranted being in the starting lineup for most of the years. When he's had opportunities, he's not been good, including against lower league opposition as well. He's been poor against teams from down the divisions. The last two games, he's been absolutely phenomenal, and that is such a fantastic sign for him that Arteta even had the faith to put him in against Fulham there, because Arteta doesn't like those kind of rotations, those rogue ones, and the fact that he then backed him for last night is huge. So that feels like a real moment for Miles Lewis-Skelly, and fair play to the kid. He seemed to have absolutely grasped it, and he just looked so happy to be there. I think there's a moment towards the end when he jumps up off the bench, sort of just he looks kind of fully engaged and everything. And hopefully, this is the start of us seeing him a bit more in midfield, and you get some more opportunities there moving forward. But definitely, that's one that I just want to linger on to say, what a fantastic day for him. Because a month ago, you just can't. Well, a week ago, you just can't anticipate that being the case, are you?
It's nuts how quickly things turn around. And look, I think not the writing was on the wall, but Calafiori, we buy Hincapié. He went from first choice to third choice, and it's really difficult. He's had a difficult second season, and we know all of that. He hasn't performed when he's given the opportunity. He's been a bit, but he's been useful because we've needed him because of injuries and stuff. But I think this could potentially, the last two games, change his trajectory as a player at Arsenal's midfield trajectory, because you're looking, well, why do we need to go to France to get some young midfielder when we've got MLS there, sort of thing, and I think this changes a lot massively. It's like, the Fulham game, you think, it's just a one-off, great. Fulham weren't great. He did what he did. He inverts from the left anyway, so good on him. But what he did yesterday to back that up, I think this is our start to, okay. This is maybe,
and I think genuinely one of the best players in the pitch that first half. I think his ambition to break the press several times through quick, incisive, direct balls was very, very. It was brave, and it was really, really good. And he kind of set that tempo a little bit after, I thought, a bit of a nervy 7 or 8 minutes where they came out a high tempo and really kind of gave us that high press. He was the one that looked to break the press several times. So I really, really liked that. And I like that combination with Eze and with Rice as well. I like Eze's willing to drop so very deep to collect the ball. And he doesn't do so in that same sort of busy way that Odegaard does it, where it's all, he's sort of desperately industrious as he goes to pick up the ball and then looks to find the forward pass and carries the ball in order to do so. Eze does so in a somewhat lazy manner. He kind of drifts back. And then you just saw up went Rice, up went MLS. And they did that quite a few times, that rotation in that first half, allowing Eze to drop back. And then with MLS and Rice as two players that you don't mind being in those positions. I just really enjoyed that midfield. I don't think it's all of a sudden going to be the future of Arsenal.
No, but it's an option.
But I think that's a real option. I think those players, all three of those players have plenty to contribute, and all three of those players are contributing lots at the turn end of the season. Admittedly, Declan Rice had plenty to contribute for 3 years with absolutely zero break in between at this stage, but certainly one of the mention actually, Eze, I thought was really good too. But again, that's becoming just a bit of a norm as well now. And it was nice also that when Oda came on for him, I thought Oda played really well as well.
Well, that's what I think. Yeah, exactly. I think the subs complemented what we needed to do right at the right time. I thought it was superb. Just one final thing on the MLS thing. He's displacing a Spanish international who's won the Euros. Yeah, who's played all season, and to do that in a Champions League semi-final against a Spanish team. You just think at the age of 19, it's just nuts to think of it, and he just takes to it like a duck to water, and I think fantastic. I mean, again, to call out, Rice was player of the match. I mean, how fucking good is he? His newish role, with MLS or Zubi, covers every blade of grass. He's up and down. It's just, I think, not saying he's restricted to the left 8 where he has been, because he's been a class player there, but this, I think, really, this role and swapping, dovetailing, because he's not always just sitting at the base. Sometimes MLS would go there and receive the ball, sometimes either. But just this sort of freed him up a bit. But he is if you do have him there more often than not, it means you can do more up front. It means, you got Saliba, you got Gabriel, you have him. If you got White or Calafiori and Hincapié also covering, they've got enough to cover our defence. They've got enough to pick up the pieces. We're not going to get overrun or the rest of it. So he's again, just we found something just at the right time. Hopefully, we've not won anything yet, long way to go, yada yada yada. But finding him in that role, and he seems to be, really really enjoying it, and also what the subtlety that MLS and Zubimendi provide, he can't do that. He's not very good. So like I can't remember which goal it was. It was the Gyökeres, before the Gyökeres, the penalty last week, the little touch that Zubimendi does because he's further up the pitch to set Odegaard to then set, Gyökeres free to then get fouled. Declan Rice isn't making that touch. That's not the sort of player. So if you can have our more soft touch players near the edge of the box, like a Zubi, like a MLS, and he's just sitting there saying, "No, right, I've got this. I think it's superb there." And then Saka, he's going to carry us to glory in 60 minutes or less. So there we go. Right. Anyway, so before we just close this out, just a quick reminder, and this seems to work. So sorry if you hear this every week, but I do notice people doing this. So if you can leave us a little subscribe, follow, comment, etc., on the podcast apps, on the YouTube channel at The Grove AFC, on Spotify and Apple, it really does helps with the numbers, spread the word, and yes, we do notice it and we do appreciate it, and you've done it already. Thank you. So if you just press pause now, do it. Thank you. And that really helps. Appreciate it. Right, on to your 3-word reviews, and we'll just get some final thoughts, and then we'll close it out. So, as always, like to get people's instant thoughts on the game in 3 words or less. And as I say, I'm sorry if I pronounce your handles wrong, but also a lot of people can't grasp the concept of 3 words. So, and if you can't, then I'm not reading it out. So there we go. So. Blue Sky and on Blue Sky, they're going a bit more against the anti-Arsenal brigade. So Chip Rogers said, silence the doubters. And Die Mindshaft said, fuck the naysayers. Yeah, fuck them. On Threads, Ollie Perry 92, how I was feeling. Buddha fucking pest, indeed. The Daddy, solid game management, I think so. I didn't get this one, but I wanted to include it because I liked it. Mustard, shoe choose. Pub twat left. I have no idea what that meant, but I love those 3 words put together and, and all the rest of it. Giraffe on a stick. Gyökeres the beast, he was. DB Briss Sawyer. My throat hurts, so he must have been there. My throat hurt indeed. Danny Brown, podcaster. Fucking get in. Yeah, definitely. The Retro Gooner, Champions League finalists, we are. Neural Hudamt, 20 years later. Yeah, let's hope the next one isn't. I think we got a bit of an infiltrator. Abd Hadi, 1987. Arsenal got lucky. Not sure where we got lucky, but maybe we did with the penalty shouts. Maybe not. I don't know. Who cares? Dab Savage, 10 out of 10, no notes, but that's 10 out of 10 numerically, so that counts as 1 word. Matty Rambo Shoots, love this club. Yeah, we all do. Mimi Kalini Lala, Starboy Saka. Nick AFC 14, Victor fucking Gyökeres. There's a lot of swearing in these, but I approve. Hath 100, it's our time. And if Cisco 12, trust the process. There we go. Right, and on to the Grove WhatsApp group. Matt Stacey, Champions League final. Rahima, 20 years waiting. And then Fraser goes, worth the wait. Owen, history in reach. Noel Mickedy was very confident. It's a very routine win. Shanice, 1 more game. And then Alex Munro, let's fucking go. How's that for 3 words? There you go. Well, thank you for sending those in. Do appreciate it. And I think it sums it up quite nicely. So look, it's been a massive couple of days for Arsenal. Something seems to be brewing at the Emirates. Fulham was pretty much perfect. Everton versus City was oh so nearly perfect. Last night was pretty much perfect. Players are, dare I say, coming back, and they're healthy and fit, or at least healthy and fit enough to make meaningful contributions. There seems to be a lightness to the players, whereas before expectations and pressure seem to be weighing players down. There's a feel-good factor. It's amazing what's changed since Bournemouth a few weeks back. I guess winning does that. We are 4 games away from a historic double. How are you feeling about the next few weeks, Jamie?
Pretty lovely, mate. Yeah. Well, I'd say genuinely, like, the world's nice right now, isn't it? You know, we've got everything in the league is in our control. I look at those 3 games now and I genuinely go, okay, just one at a time. But certainly West Ham next match, you know, is very doable. And you know, it's even after all of that, regardless of what occurs in that league, we've still got the chance to be able to make history by winning something that the Arsenal had never won before. It's a lovely way to end the season, I think, that, Tabs. And I have a feeling you're going to be feeling somewhat more somewhat more anxious about it?
No.
No?
I'm worryingly happy. We're going to do a preview of West Ham later in another pod. No, I'm feeling. I know I'm drinking from the Kool-Aid. All the vibes are good. It's there to be won. I think it's clear. It's clear ahead of us. It would have been nice had City lost that game, because it would have just given us that extra little bit of buffer. But I think it's clear. I think it's weird since the Bournemouth game or the City game. I think the clarity has helped us. The fact like there's no more excuses. There's no more second guessing. There's no more. Oh, maybe if we do that, no, just win, baby. And that help. And then maybe things are just sort of things are falling into place and they're not falling. All season we've talked about things are going away. Oh shit, things are going. Oh shit. Yeah. Now it seems to be like we're going to have things falling our way, and there's going to be no time for the oh shit part. So I think, it just feels something's building, something's there at the right time. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's sort of there to be had. And look, City now, we play once a week for the rest of the season. City now play every 3 days. It's all on them as well. They've got to get through this, and they've got some pretty tough games and it's what's amazing. They lose Rodri and they fall to pieces. Everton could have scored a hatful. We've lost Saka all season. Havertz and Odegaard and Calafiori and whoever. And we've had to struggle through that. They lose one player and boy is us. Fuck them. That seems to be the motto of today's pod. But I'm feeling good. But West Ham on another day. Come to me 4:30 on Sunday. I'm going to be bricking it. So there we go. So we'll cover that in the next pod. So look, thank you, Jamie, for joining us from your new abode. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you very much, Tabs.
Oh, good. And as I said, if you can follow us on all the socials at Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok, Insta, X, YouTube, Apple and Spotify at The Grove AFC. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, follow. Really helps and appreciate that. Our next pod will be a West Ham preview with Jamie. That will come out on Friday or Saturday. I'll also be speaking to West Ham fam Adam Leatherbarrow from the Dad's Our Job podcast. Spoken to him before. We'll get the insider's view on that game. All that leaves me to say is thank you for listening. The Champions League final is in the bag. Enjoy it for a few more days, and then let's go and finish the job off in the Prem. Until the next time, come on you Gunners.